Hi and welcome to week 2 of what I'm growing this week. We're going to start with this tray. This tray consists mostly of, I guess, these cool weather annuals or short-lived perennials that could be planted around fall and will bloom during winter if winter's mild enough. As we saw last week, we have the lupins. The lupins are finally making their true leaves. We have calendulas and new ones. If you can see a tiny little green speck, that's Viola corsica. It's native to Europe. It's kind of I don't want to say weedy. It sells a lot. And a lot of people like growing it because, well, it adds interest in winter. Insects like it. And you can also use it in your salads. You can eat the flowers. Then we got another calendula. Calendula Light, which we discussed last week. Of new plants, we have Cellulosum ambrii feromit. Short-lived perennial. Probably you can only get like 2-3 years out of it. Has blue flowers. It's in the borage family, so typically that family is really attractive to butterflies and moths. Right next door to it, right there, is a Californian poppy. Most of the time when we think Californian poppy, we're thinking orange, yellow flower, but in fact they come in many colors now. And this one is called Watermelon Heaven. It's pink. This one will probably be going to this island bed I have, and I'm going, hopefully more of them come up because I need more of them if I'm going to do what I want to do. I want to have them near the edge of the bed, and they could come up and add some ferny looking leaves and those nice flowers. So the tray below, we have Novartia arbora variegata, or the tree mallow. It's a variegated version. The leaves are splotched with yellow randomly, and usually it just grows as a single trunk. I've tried these guys like 4 times. They usually survive with me for like 2-3 years, and then for some reason they fall over. And I think the reason why they fall over is because my soil's super sandy, and I don't think it's letting them grab a hold of it. So the weight of that single trunk with a canopy of pretty sizable leaves, probably like almost the size of my hand, so like 5-6 inches, a little bit more, just makes them tip over. Right next door we have Salvia hyans. It's a herbaceous salvia, really similar to Salvia nemosa. Found in I think this is an Asian species. Purple flowers, really nice. We saw this one last week. They're developing very nicely. That is the tansy, aureum, and you can see some of the new leaves that are coming up from the baby leaves. They're coming out yellow, which is what this one is supposed to be. Right next door to it is a tropical plant, Tricilium corellium. Most people used to grow this one as an annual. I think here where I live, zone 8, it should make it as a perennial. And then I think honestly my yard borders zone 9, because we have some stuff that should not make it that comes back. So I think we have a pretty good microclimate. Has big bunches of purple flowers, sweetly scented. Right next door to it is the Setonia bicorus. Still can't remember the common name. I want to say it's sweet rocket, but I know it's not that. We saw this one last week. They're developing quite nicely. This is Chinese foxglove, Rhormina alata. Really nice plant. Another one that's grown mostly as an annual, but it's actually a perennial. I'm going to have this one in some shady spots. Underneath I think it's a Bradford pear. Has pink flowers, really attractive. Right next to it is Stipa calamagrostis. There's a couple seedlings coming up there. And next to that, let me zoom in on this one. You can see it right there. That is Orangimon platycerus. It's a prickly poppy. It's actually native here. I've seen them growing on the Franklin Mountains. The leaves are unattractive. They're really prickly. The flowers though are large, substantial, probably like the size of a small, nah, like a large cup, like a teacup. White with a yellow center. Really nice. The plan with this one is to actually have it popping up through some Stipa tenuissima, Mexican feather grass, so that the grass kind of hides those leaves. I don't mind them, but the parents do, so gotta keep them happy. It's their yard. Then nothing on these ones. Let me zoom back out. And then right there is a lupin. So up above we saw Lupinus texensis, the Texas bluebonnet, which is a annual to biennial. This one's a perennial. And this one's versicolors from California. And most of them grow, if they're not annuals or biennials, grow as pretty sizable herbaceous perennials or even small shrubs. And this one is actually a creeper. The flowers change color too, so you would have them open up yellow and they would get not yellow, purple, and then they get yellowish tints. It's really pretty. There's not that much information online about it, so if anyone knows more, please comment below. And then on this side, right there, we got the Echinacea purpurea, which we saw last week. I think 2 more have germinated. And yeah, I think that's it for up here. So down here, we have a foxglove, Digitalis tapsii. It's one of a group. There's a bunch of foxgloves that are actually Mediterranean and they're perennial. This one has typical foxglove leaves, really pale pink flowers. So if you're not into pale colors, this isn't the one for you. But I think it's pretty. You need a little bit of both in your life. Pale and strong colors. And then we have, let me zoom in on this one. You can see it. Oh, there's actually 2. This is Cypherus chera. Usually you see these plants as water plants. They're called the umbrella grass. This one is a more terrestrial species and it's smaller too. It's going to go to island bed. And yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how this one grows because this is another one that I haven't found a lot of information on other than from the website that I bought it from. So if anyone knows anything about that one, let me know. And then we have these guys, which we saw last week. A lot more of them have germinated. Morbium altrum, an Australian plant. Usually this one is grown as everlasting cut flower. So everlasting cut flowers are flowers that you could cut off that they will actually retain both their color and form. And you could keep them for like years, like that. But you have to dry them first. And then right here we have Gerania mollis. I believe this is a European native, really similar to Scabiosa. So it's going to attract pollinators like crazy. Purpley flowers. And then over here, right here, let me see if I could. Well, I was looking at the wrong, sorry. So right here, if you look really closely, you can see tiny little blades. This is actually a Juncus zephyroides. I wanted to grow this one because I think the fruiting bodies of Juncus are really pretty and ornamental. I'm not too sure where I'm going to put this one yet, so that's something to keep an eye out on. Next door to it, I'm going to zoom up, is that little blade right there is a red hot poker. It's Nephaphia richalis. All Nephaphia are native to Africa. This one is pretty classic of that genus. I haven't had much luck with growing Nephaphia, so I'm pretty excited to see that. And then next door, and then we have the grass, which is Melenchia altissima atropurpurea. So another, I think this is a Eurasian plant, really nice. And then on this side, I almost forgot about this one. See if you guys can see it on that right there. That is the Chinese lantern plant. The Chinese lantern plant is kind of a thug, so I'm actually planning on planting it in a pot where there's some other pretty aggressive plants, so they can all just fight it out. This one isn't really grown for its flowers. The flowers are these tiny little white things, not really showy, nothing to write home about, but it's the fruit that people grow it for. Like the name says, the fruit actually look like Chinese lanterns. You could dry them, or you could even let the insects eat them, and it looks and then they leave like a skeletal remain behind. It's pretty cool. And usually you can find like a couple big seeds in the middle of it. So this one will probably be planted next year. Most of the perennials will be planted next year. And then over here, oh yeah, I almost forgot about this guy. Let me see if I could get a good angle. Right there, this one is an alpine plant called Globulia puncta. Let me show you that's the name tag right there. It's a mat former, has some pretty weird bluish flowers. This one's probably going to go to that island bed I keep bringing up to, towards the edge to creep. The only thing that has me worried is the summer. Will the summer be too hot for it? Over here we have Lineraria, Purpurea Browns White. It's a kind of weedy plant. Really, I think it looked really nice popping up through some grasses. Has tiny little white flowers. Good for attracting pollinators. It probably will self-sow. Right next door to it is Ornithoptera Sunset Boulevard. It's a evening primrose. It's different from some of the ones that are more common on the market, like the yellow or the pink one. This one sends up big stalks that could probably get like 4 or 5 feet tall, and they're topped with orange flowers. Short-lived perennial. I'm hoping it self-sows, or even we could get some pretty cool hybrids, because I got a couple of evening primroses. I'm just not too sure how easy they hybridize with each other, so that'd be something to keep an eye on. Down below, this tray, which looks like it doesn't have much in it, I sowed this one this week, so not much has popped up in it yet. Well, actually, that was an update. This right here, which is kind of a surprise, is baby breath. If you guys ever been to like a wedding, you see these, like you usually get like white, like roses, and it's that white fluffy flower. This is it. And this is one called Ernie Snowball. I think it's more of a dwarf, and typically in my book I don't really like dwarfs too much. I like them looking more natural, but I think I could make this one work if I put it towards the edge of a planting scheme, and it can help soften the edge. And then over here is a Alkylia Summer Pastels. It's a mix. See that tiny little green sprout? It's a mix, and usually I don't go for mixes. I like to grow singles, like single cultivars. But I felt the need to sow something, and I just bought it. So this one mostly consists of soft colors. I have an idea where I want to put it underneath some pink rose around it. And if you look, you see those green beads? Those are the actual seeds. And what they did with this one is that they pretty much they wrap around the seed with some type of wax, a biodegradable wax, I think. And it helps the gardener sow individual seeds into individual cells. So if I was using something like this, I could sow 1, 1, 1. And the reason why they do that is because normally this plant has really dust-like seeds, so it becomes more difficult to handle. So they made it easier. To me, it doesn't matter. And I think that's it for this one. So hopefully by next week we see more stuff. Over here is another tray that I brand new this week, and it's having some germination. Like right here, we have a Hollyhock, Indian Springs. It's another mix. I had this one in my yard already, but I did a re-sowing because I only had like 2 colors pop up, and I think there's like 5 or 6 colors in that mix. So I'm trying to get all the colors. It's a single hollyhock, pretty classic hollyhock shape. I didn't experience a lot of issues with any of the diseases associated with hollyhocks, like rust, but I did have leaf miner. Leaf miner is this little moth that burrows, well, the larvae burrow in between the actual leaf structure, leaving like transparent areas. But other than that, it was okay. And I honestly didn't mind it too much. And then the other thing that germinated right here is this one, which is Dianthus Quarantis. It's a carnation, and this carnation is pretty unique because most carnations, they tend to hold the flower pretty close to the growth when the carnations grow like a mat. This one actually sends up a pretty tall flowering stalk up from there. In the flowers, I guess the structure that holds it resembles more like a sweet william, which is another type of dianthus that grows more taller. This is a species found in Europe. Good for cut flowers, good for attracting pollinators. And I think if we have hummingbirds by the time this guy's flowering, I'm not too sure if the flower's too early in the year, they probably will go to it. It's a nice magenta color. And usually that red color is what attracts hummingbirds. And I think that's it for this one. So hopefully by next week we have more action. And then we have this tray, which I'm looking around. Right there we have Nepeta Javonii, Javana. It's a yellow species of, no, let me show you the tag. There's the name. So Nepeta is the catmint genus, and most of us are familiar with catmint as the plant that cats get high off of. Typically has blue flowers, really aromatic leaves. This species has yellow flowers. And unlike some of the other Nepetas who are a little bit more drought tolerant, it prefers a little bit more moisture at the roots. So I'm going to have it in a shady border that we have, and hopefully that helps. And I think the yellow leaves will really stand out. Not the yellow leaves. The yellow flowers will stand out more in the shade and attract pollinators too. We have another catmint growing, if I could find it right there. This is Nepeta racemosa felix, and it's pretty typical of the genus. Blue flowers, bluish gray, green leaves, hairy. And this one I think I'm going to plant in a dry area. I'm not too sure which one. And over here, you can see it right there. This is Erysimum Forskianum Goldshot. Typically, any cultivar derived from this species, they grow mats, and they're usually used in bedding schemes. I'm not a real fan of bedding. I like plantings to look more natural, but I am going to use this species regardless of what its initial purpose was, and I'm going to use it to creep off the edge of a bed and soften the edge and provide some early season color. This plant is in the Brassica family, which includes cabbages, kales, arugula, a lot of our leafy vegetables. And those flowers typically are really good at attracting butterflies and moths. And this one is scented too. And like the name says, it's gold shot, so it's yellow. And this was the I think this was the last tray I sowed this week. And I think next week, they told me my seeds would be coming in, so I should be doing more sowings. Up here, we have more Setonia compacta coming up. The Digitalis that we started last week's video with. And then two newbies, which I'm pretty excited for. This one right here is another Foxglove, Digitalis Obscura. Like the other ones that we talked about, it's from the Mediterranean. And this one's kind of shrubby. And it has orangey red flowers, which I think they look very rustic, and I really like that. Right next to it is a poppy, Papervia, let me see, Ruperfergium, orange feathers. Perennial poppy, self-sows a lot, orange flowers, probably like around June-ish. The Vibascum seedlings that we saw last week are doing good. You can see the first leaves, they're a little bit leggy. And over here we have a Dianthus Quarantis. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but usually that word means like red This one is a straight species. Most of us are familiar with the cultivated Dihilias. This one's the wild one, and I think most of the ones that we have some of this in their blood. Late blooming, I think it's going to look really nice. It blooms right around now, actually. And having that type of color right now is pretty nice, because usually the garden at this point is looking tired. And then over here we have another Achillea, like the one that we saw earlier, but this one is a different species. This is Potomaca. I think we talked about it last week. More of them have popped up. And then right here, you can see a tiny little green speck, and there's another one somewhere here. Both these plants in these two styles are Brassica relatives, like the Uricium that we talked about. This one right here is Adornium grandiflorum, pink flowers, matte forming. And this one, I'm not going to pronounce that name, is also matte forming but blue flowers. Both of them pretty drought tolerant. Spring flowering, early summer, good at attracting butterflies. And then up here we have our Scabiosas, which we talked about last week. The Calamagrostis is still growing. And we have Helenium hoopsii, which I don't think I talked about last week. It got moved from Helenium, which is a North American genus, to a different genus. I think it's Hemaloxius or something. Hoopsii. Don't know why they moved it. Has yellow flowers, long tap root. Really nice plant. Another Helenium is this one right here. This is Helenium autumnalis Helen. I'm not too sure if it deserves to be called that, because I think that's actually a cultivar that's like, you need to do divisions of it, and doesn't come true from seed, but I'm not too sure. If someone knows, let me know. Right here we have Setonia Traumacephalus var tomatosa. It's a small shrubby plant, probably only gets like a foot. Yellow little budding flowers, silvery leaves that kind of look like pine leaves, like a cypress leaves. Aromatic, really nice. It's going to go into this really dry spot, and it's going to love that. Over here we have two plants right there. The first one that's furthest away is Veronica Blue Boy. It's a creeping Veronica. Super drought tolerant. Nice blue flowers. The one next to it is Ceratissimum. Oh man. Tomatosa. That's another creeping plant. I have one in my yard of a cultivar called Yo-Yo, but this is the wild species. Both of them have white flowers. And I think this one has overall bigger size. And that's the last of the seeds up here. And we have one more. Right there. That's Diorama Plant World Jewels. It's a mix from Plant World seeds. I'm not too sure what colors are going to come up. Diorama are South African bulbs related to irises. They call them angel fishing rods because the flowers dangle down. This one I'm going to actually plant in a bed that's in the front yard that borders the street. And I think it's going to look really nice. And I'm pretty excited that they're coming out because I planted these like 2 months ago. But one thing with bulbs is they take a while. So that's pretty good. Now the last plants for today, for this video, are some that I bought. So let's start with this one. This is Sedum. Allopecorides Hamlin, or Dwarf fountain grass. This is a plant that's a bit controversial, and you may be wondering why. And to get us a lesson, you need to know which plants in your area are classified as invasives, so that you don't add on to this growing problem that the world is going through. This plant, beautiful plant, but if you live like in California or along the West Coast, it has escaped cultivation, and it's actually outcompeting native species, and it's aiding in the spread of wildfires. This plant lights up like no tomorrow. So if it's invasive in your area, don't grow it. Don't be part of the problem. Here it isn't, so that's why I'm growing it. Benefits of this plant: I really like the flowering heads. It's small for a Pennicenum. It provides shelter and nesting material for animals. So yeah, and it's drought tolerant. So pretty easy plant. Just again, do your research about it before you go planting it. Right here we have Coreopsis uptick, yellow and red. I actually bought this one to replace one where I had some canas. I did a video about that. It's the canas that I ripped up and all this other stuff. But I thought it was the same variety, and the one I had over there, I wanted to replace it because it looked too weak to continue into winter. Fingers crossed I'm wrong because they're not the same variety. The one that's over there is uptick, yellow and bronze. This is yellow and red, so can't replace it. And also the grass is a replacement too. Like 2-3 years ago I bought one on discount. It was too far gone. Thought I could rescue it. Didn't work out, so I'm happy to have it back. In fact, all of them are pretty much replacement plants. Well, almost replacement plants, because this one ruined it, for things that have died. This one right here is Sedum Sun Sparkler Firecracker. The Sun Sparkler series is a growing series. I think as of right now it has like 7 or 8 plants in it. Really nice creeping sedums. Good for pots. Most of them have pink flowers. Leaves vary. There's a variegated one. There's one that has a pink edging. There's a couple that have really varying degrees of purplish red flushes to them. Really easy plant. One thing with sedums in general, and I think with this series, is that they're a little bit water sensitive. So plant them where the soil is well draining. Otherwise they start to rot. Because all the ones I've had have rotted away. If you see that your plant's rotting, take cuttings. You could just pinch a piece of this, put in some dry compost, and it should make a new plant. Saves you money. I didn't do that, which is why I needed to buy a new plant. So do as I say, not as I do. Other than that, that's it for this week. Thank you for watching, and I see you guys next weekend for week 3. Like, comment, and subscribe.